Now, I think it's pretty apparent at this point that The Marvels is by far one of the worst box office failures over at Disney for Marvel Studios, especially holding the worst MCU opening of all time in Marvel history. We already know that as a fact, and that's exactly why those high up at Disney, we're talking about the Disney Board of Directors, Bob Iger, the CEO, and how they are now scrambling in a desperate attempt to revamp the Marvel Universe. This has a lot to do by ditching sequels and embracing and pretty much focusing more so on just singular movie formats moving onwards, and you're going to see, as a result, less trilogies or less sequels coming out of these popular films like Fantastic Four, for example, stuff around those lines. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Bob Iger is that we know that this man lies his way through everything. He will do whatever he has to do, say whatever he has to say, to string along his audience, or as he calls him, or them, the customers, and string along the shareholders. Now, of course, the top shareholders are relentless. They're the ones truly pulling the strings here. Yes, we're talking about BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. However, when it dwindles down to the Marvels, director Nia DaCosta, this is where things begin to get quite ugly when it comes to Bob Iger and Nia DaCosta and new truths about the Marvels that have been unveiled. Now, we already knew that Nia DaCosta created a lot of drama on the set for this movie and a lot of unnecessary pauses within production. However, with Disney currently in a very delicate state right now, especially after the box office disasters of the Marvels and Wish, one major development has to do with Bob Iger and his stance with the current status of both Marvel and the Marvels film failure by delivering the following. We here at Disney are all about change, especially within our film and television projects. It's all about evolution and how we can gravitate to a wider audience around the globe. With the Marvels as one of our difficult situation that we actually had to handle was with the director Nia DaCosta, with the combination of the lack of supervision on the set and an abundance of creative differences that were created by Miss DaCosta only forced this project of ours into a more complex production than we imagined. We found this way of handling this project that put us into a difficult position with the Marvel fans and the entire Marvel community that we don't support creators, in this case directors, that support creating any kind of drama on the set or any sort of interference within production. And this is something that we deal with at times that we viewed as highly unprofessional. Sometimes it's the director in this case that has put us into that common misconception about our aim with Marvel projects. We do not support agenda-driven strategies with our products and stories, nor do we support any kind of a culture war going into the Marvel films and television shows. This is all up to the director and writer, and that is something that we are looking to course correct to quiet down the noise. Now, as you can see Bob Iger's scapegoating, it could not be any clearer than that. He is truly scapegoating, pointing the finger at DaCosta. And look, let me be honest here. I'm not defending Nia DaCosta by any means. But this is exactly what I mean by when the chips are down, eventually all these people eat each other eventually. It's kind of like that Joker line of dialogue in The Dark Knight, right? Very similar. And now when the Marvels has hit true rock bottom, where Disney realizes that they can't lie any further about, oh, maybe it's going to make a rebound next week, or maybe it's going to make a turnaround in the next month. Well, no. This movie is dead. It has hit rock bottom, and it is going to stay below. And that's going to go nowhere. So this is exactly why Bob Iger is beginning to scapegoat. This man, like Kathleen Kennedy, will never blame himself, never blame his failures, or his mistakes that he made. We gotta remember that this is the guy that actually supported Kevin Feige pushing for Nia DaCosta to get that 10-project deal that just recently went sour. We talked about that too. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but we talked about how she was going to have this 10-project deal, most of which had a lot to do with directing maybe 1 episode or 2 episodes per TV show, but a 10-project deal as a whole. Now, what's interesting about all of this further is that he goes on to conclude, the directing, of course, within our Marvel Cinematic Universe is much needed for improvement as we look to distance ourselves from sequels and providing fans fresh new stories to tell, while also to respect our usage of DEI into our projects. We hope that we have obtained the right directors this time for our productions for the future that will ensure our success with Marvel adaptations from the popular comics with a new spin to the stories that we can tell thanks to Kevin. Our aim is to transform Marvel Studios in the next couple of years by getting the right directors to handle these projects with the right professionalism on our sets that are needed to guarantee a smooth development for our films and TV shows, especially for our Disney Plus business model. Now notice how he is making it ultimately clear that they want to transform the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What that equals out to is that they want to up the usage of DEI and ESG into those movies, into those TV shows, right? And you're going to see this with Fantastic Four, you're going to see this with Blade, both of which come out in 2025, right? These two movies, I believe, are going to be the two disasters of that year. Now, look, I'm not trying to be pessimistic just for the sake of it, but we have a lot of things that have been going on behind the scenes for those two projects. For example, the Marvels is all set to kind of create this ripple effect on these projects, alright? And when it comes to Fantastic Four and Blade, a lot of those woke ideologies are going to spill into those two projects. We already know that the original script for Blade 2025, which was going to be all-female led, many elements, and I say elements of that script, are already getting finalized to become a part of the current Blade, which is very much why I believe Ali has been desperately trying to leave that project and just kind of abandon, Blade 2025 at all costs. But again, here you have Bob Iger scapegoating again, never taking the blame for himself, never admitting, I made a mistake, I gotta make improvements, I gotta hire the right people this time around. Instead, he's pointing the finger at directors, right, mainly, and really looking at Nia DaCosta as the one that had the lack of supervision, and how Disney needed to improve themselves too with their supervision. That's not going to work either. All you need to do is they have to have the right creatives on board, you have to have a good story, and really that's about it. I mean, you really just need a good cast and crew to make these things happen. And if you don't have the right hires, it's not going to work out. This is exactly why and what happens when you hire DEI hires, as I like to call them, right? So we know that Nia DaCosta truly bulldozed this movie to the ground, and it's all a combination of her fault and Kevin Feige's fault and the lack of vision for Bob Iger. I mean, that's just a given. So overall, I would really love to hear your take on the Marvels. I don't know if you guys saw it or if you've got a family or a friend that has seen it, but let me know what you guys have to say about that movie overall, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.